Hi everybody, it's Amy. So what's the word of the day? Nightmare. This has been yet another episode that has taken me some time to get actually done. But there's good news that comes out of that. So first of all, apologies for taking fucking 7 months to get this out there. The sort of long and short of it is, I thought about doing a whole huge apology, but that would just take up video time, and I kind of want to get into this. But, mental health issues suck, and losing a family member sucks, and sometimes you want to make things happen, and those things don't happen. Your mind can kind of be your own worst enemy. But I'm here. In just a few days, Datenighto is going to be releasing their new game, Heaven Will Be Mine, which I'm massively looking forward to, and it's the reason that I decided to go ahead and make sure that I had this series finished. At the end of this video, I'll talk a little bit more about what else is going to be coming up, but for now I just want to get into this. When I did my first recording, I tried to kind of read through everything again and give it some more polish, and that turned out to take an hour and a goddamn half, and that was with like minimal commentary. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to kind of zip through this, and I'm only going to read out bits that we haven't gotten to yet. So instead this is going to be much more heavily focused on commentary and what's going on in the game, what it all means, what I think it means, what I've occasionally heard from the devs, that kind of thing. So let's do it. So this is just the introduction right here. This is where all the characters come in. This first scene is great, if only because it sort of subtly introduces each of the girls' tics. Jupiter hurts herself, and so she imagines these hands rubbing on her temples, hands that are not hers, So she's got this thing about being touched, and then immediately snaps her hairband as this kind of reflex, like, oh no, I shouldn't be doing that. Venus thinks that they sees a light in the distance that's the bonfire, but it's actually the lights that they have been seeing this sort of whole time and have been distracting them. And Neptune is bitching to a friend on like text or instant messenger or something, and the bile starts kind of rising up in her throat, and she is still learning how to deal with the fact that she's just kind of a bitter, angry person, and that maybe there's still a good way that can work. So there's the temple rubbing, snapping the hairband, which, it's that it's still so fucked up to me that sometimes I don't process how bad it is, but the fact that this thing that people normally do for, like, swearing or smoking or a bad habit, she does it because she thinks about how nice it would be to get touched by somebody, which, again, coming from sort of a Christian background, I do get it, but I'm also removed enough that I realize that it's such a messed up approach to take in, especially, for a teenager when they're still growing up and figuring out the world. It's just awful. Idiot less than 3 jerk face. Resting witch face also it's a brilliant screen name. There's nothing else to really say about that except that I love it. What can you really do? So she coughs for just a second, see that, and Venus is seeing a light somewhere in the distance, but they make it to the bonfire, and so everything sort of dies down, and those go away for, at least a scene. There's the goddamn bonfire captain with a puka shell necklace and a guitar, and I hate him and I love him so much, because he's such a douchebag, and he's such like a traditional douchebag. I mean, he's a youth pastor. He's every youth pastor all kind of molded into one. I've known, a couple that have been my youth pastors, and then a couple other people that have become youth pastors, and not all of them were like him exactly, but they all sort of have these qualities. Also, a lot of them are either younger men who, have just gotten married and have like one kid. A couple of them were older guys. Actually, the coolest one was like in his 50s or 60s. Kevin, he was amazing. Because he wasn't like this. He was just a dude who wanted to be a pastor to the youth, which I think is kind of the thing. There's something about the bonfire captain that's really unsettling, and they talk about it. And, they don't say exactly what it is, but there's a few hints here and there, and you're like, oh, okay, that's not great. And it's the kind of guy who would wear this shirt with the rolled up sleeves and this, just slightly like bicep-y type arms, but maybe they're also kind of fat. And he's got this puka shell necklace, and his eyes are all weird. They're like all squiggly, and he's just like, oh, whatever. I'm the bonfire captain. It's just, he creeps me out. So they get sit down. This, of course, fucking take a screenshot, because that's the sentence that I always get caught up on. Termite-eaten woods from abandoned churches. Singed wire from burned out radios. Dubious apologies. Ashes of monsters of the week. Like, that's your aesthetics, all there in one sentence, and I love it. The statements about how each of them sits. Venus takes up as little space as possible. I'm very familiar with that. Neptune is sort of watching everybody else. Neptune is probably the one that I connect with the least, but I also I do get this. When you're the outcast, you get to do a lot of people watching, and they do kind of become this weird form of entertainment. Jupiter sits weird. I also have kind of a weird sitting posture sometimes, but I know how to be comfortable. I relate to the characters a lot. And that's one of those things that terrifies me a little bit about Heaven Will Be Mine, is that I don't know anything about the characters yet, and I'm like terrified that I won't relate to them the same way I have in this game, or, I don't know, maybe I'll relate to them just as well, and now I'll have 6-ish characters from this creator that I just love, and it's just, oof, I'm excited. Is everyone having a good time getting repeated over and over again until everybody joins in? That is one of those things that I hate the most, whether it was like church or school assembly or whatever, but like somebody comes up like, are you having a good time? And it's like, well, okay, some people probably aren't having a good day, so like don't put the onus on them to like pretend so you feel better and the hype is up enough that you could do your job. Like, just do your job. Yeah. It's bullshit, exactly. Fuck him. And they laugh, like they know this is atrocious. They all know it. It's just that like Neptune doesn't put up with it as easily. He starts giving a sermon, which is another thing I think that's something that I actually do relate to, which scares me a little bit, in that sometimes when you're in a leadership position, like the only thing you know how to do is to just start saying something that sounds wise, and nobody knows what they're doing. That's the secret of adulthood. Nobody knows what they're doing, and so you're just kind of saying things that sound smart, but you can't be sure, and maybe you're actually like ruining these people's lives with your fucked up message. But the bonfire captain, even if he knows he's faking it, he doesn't accept the fact that he's faking it. Like, he's the captain, and so, he's gonna say this thing. And even the other counselors are like, what the fuck are you going on about? The captain's he's such a weird character. The fact that, like, he might have been the one to build the cabin, if the captain sort of represents not just a youth pastor or a pastor, but the church. He's the one that built this fucked up cabin where people get sent to maybe meet the devil. Like, what does that say about him? That, like, the cabin seems to almost serve this purpose. And it's surrounded by these shacks that seem to also be so purposeless. Group West is going to meet the devil. The groups thing also confused me, I realized recently. So you have, cabins, I'd think is what the groups are. And each of them is only 3 people, judging by Group West, and Group South, I think, is who shows up in a second here. And it's only 3 kids per cabin with, like, a generally equal sort of gender divide. But that would never happen in the sort of youth things that I went to. And I think it almost speaks to how dead the church must be if they can only get 3 kids per cabin and they don't even care anymore, so they just split them up however they can. In this weird way where, like, mixing the genders doesn't matter. Or maybe it's because this is a camp for bad kids, and so they know that there are girls like, Neptune and Jupiter and Venus who, it doesn't matter if you carefully room all of them with girls, for example, like, things might happen anyway. It doesn't matter if you room all the boys together, things might happen anyway. Group South, these Fucking, and this guy has a shirt with his own face on it, which I never really processed before. The girl has a sweater tied around her shoulders and a fucking Bible. Other dude has bangs for days and he's got flames on his shirt. Like, oh, fuck these people. I remember the cool kids at church were, I guess it's kind of the reverse. The best people at a place for good kids are also kind of the worst. It's, yeah. So we're gonna follow kind of a general pattern here. Venus and Jupiter first, and then Jupiter and Neptune, and then Neptune and Venus, and then we're gonna reverse that for the other three choices. And then there's gonna be two choices that'll be clearly different from anything you've done before. And so I will definitely stop and focus on those. While I was recording this episode the first time around and everything went to hell, I had the strange realization that Neptune really is kind of the tank of the group. She doesn't care, and so that's her shield. And it's the only kind of shield that matters in a place where everything is socially based. If you don't care, you can say whatever you want. People can say whatever they want. It doesn't faze you. And she's willing to give that blessing of hers, this thing that most people would call a curse, is actually a blessing, and she gives it to her friends. And she's like, no, it's cool. I'll stand here and fuck around with these assholes. You two just go do the job so we don't get in trouble. And it's this weird social contract that they kind of develop between them. Venus is apologizing for the first time in what's going to be about 20 different times. Here they are talking about sort of how to deal with these people, and it's like, I don't know how to deal with them. You just sort of, like, you can ignore them, or you can hang around them so they don't feel like hanging out with you more, and, like, what do you do? Not really working out for me either. It doesn't. Well, it does a little. That was another thing I did a lot when I was first recording this, was just gushing about the end of, like, every scene of just how precious they all are together. Because the mechanics would have you think that it's sort of a game about, like, oh, it's picking couples and who's your favorite ship. And it's a lot more about, like, all three of them and the dynamics of a three-person team, or, like, a three-person group. You know, a lot of people that sort of are fans of this game kind of take it to the point of, like, well, if you're in, like, a polyamorous relationship, like, what does that look like? And it kind of does end up looking something like this, where if you want everyone to get equal time, it takes work. It takes, like, work and planning, and sometimes two people just have to kind of go off and do their own things, and then three people can do something together. But it can be a little bit of extra work, and it's not, better than or worse than a relationship with only two people in it. It's just a different kind, and it requires a different type of attention. The lock on the door is such a cool idea, because it's everything is radio technology. It's old school, and I mean, like, old school, like, diamond crystal radios. How do you lock something, even with radio technology, beyond just, like, wrapping wires around it? Well, it's magic, but it's radio-based magic technology. But why is it ancient like that? And it's just, it's cool. And if you look up, like, pictures of old radios, you kind of start to actually understand how that could almost work in forms of a weapon. Jupiter's got something that's either like a hammer or a glaive, and hers has more of a focus on the coil. Venus has, some kind of, like, a whip or, like, a, chain or something. Neptune, I think, has a blade, like a knife or maybe a sword. It's never clearly spelled out, duh. But if you sort of look at pictures of old radios, all you really need is, like, a base component, something to hold everything, this sort of spool with the coiled wire on it, and then, like, a few other bits and pieces. But you can, combine that with a weapon in a magical setting pretty well, I would think. But it's very bullshit technology, and I kind of love that about it. I don't want to look like a jerk by saying no. Yeah, that's why. Also just took a water break. There will probably be more of those. Even if I'm not reading everything, I'm going to try to talk about stuff. So yeah, one of the shacks was a 0.6 scale house that was either meant for dolls or small people. This one's, it was a greenhouse, and then somebody tried to live in it, and now it's a greenhouse again because nature has sort of reclaimed it. You know, if you want to read deep enough into it, it's kind of got this sort of druidic feel to it, which I dig. Even just small touches like this, where they have Neptune's static image moving closer, is just such a nice little image of the two of them getting closer. And then something falls over. It's like the cabinet, and then everything just sort of sinks through, because of course the house is probably completely rotted if it's nothing but plants. And, like, immediately, Jupiter's like, oh, God, that was all my fault, and I ruined it. And she just immediately takes it, and sort of almost the exact opposite of Neptune, in that she willingly takes on the blame for this thing that probably, judging by the way the scene plays out, isn't her fault. And, like, it hurts to do that. You know, I should know. I've done that a lot of times in my life. Jupiter, I promise on a stack of Bibles, it's not your fault, and I will slap your face if you say it was. I will punch you in the face for every word you say. And Neptune's like, just stop being this thing that you've been raised to be. Like, it's not necessary. Aren't you doing fine? Aren't you trying harder than literally everyone else here? You're so chill about everyone's bullshit. It makes me so mad. You won't extend even the slightest of that chill to yourself, and it makes me even so madder. Jupiter doesn't take care of herself, and I think Neptune has kind of a enough of that edge to herself where she puts herself first. And so even if people don't get why being selfish can be a good thing, like, self-care is important. And so just, like, for fuck's sake, take care of yourself for 5 minutes. Don't put the blame on yourself. Don't make it your fault. Just admit that, like, something fucked up happened, and it had nothing to do with what you did or didn't do. Is there anything fun to play with 3 people? No, there's nothing fun. Oh, wait, I'm playing it right now. Neptune. Okay, so then they are trying to figure out what to do, which means they're going to play Truth or Dare. And apparently, neither Jupiter or Neptune, or Jupiter or Venus, know how to actually play it. And Neptune has to, like, explain it to them like they're babies. Which, once again, speaks to sort of, she's maybe the most social of the 3 of them, but she's too standoffish to ever actually be part of the in-group. And so Neptune is going to pick on Venus. Super cute. Ooh, her face disappeared for a second there. I don't know if the capture got that, but I hope it did. Venus would rather get injured or, you know, hurt in a dare than say something embarrassing. It's, you know, that need to keep everything very, very tight to the chest. You would rather, you know, get stabbed than open up about it. And again, that's something that I super get. And it's sort of Neptune's job to rip off that Band-Aid and say, where is it? I could make you wear a skirt. And that's the first thing she goes to. Like, I need you to understand, Venus. Like, as if she's shaking him by the shoulders. Like, I need you to understand. It's in there. This is you. So for God's sake, like, you need to understand that this is gonna happen at some point, and just face it. But Neptune has to be kind of a terrible person about it. And not so much like, you know, you need to fess up right now, but like, there are plenty of ways that things can be terrible and embarrassing, or, you But I get that fear. You would sort of rather... I can't even think of a good example, but it feels like this crushing weight, and it's almost more of a relief for somebody to, like, I dare you to, you know, flash us or something. That's sort of embarrassing, but you're just revealing a part of your body. You're not revealing, like, something that's, like, inside you, in your brain or on your heart or whatever. On purpose? Jokes? So for the first part of the evening, they kind of are just, you know, bullshitting around. And they figure it's time to make the rounds. And there's, you know, once again, this whole conversation about, you know, how the fuck do we even make this work? Because, like, somebody should theoretically stay here and be with our stuff, but it's dangerous to go out by yourself, but it's dangerous to be inside by yourself. You could not do your job and maybe get caught. What are you going to do? And so far, every single choice in this scene has always led to the same thing. Somebody goes outside with somebody else. Somebody stays behind. And in many cases, the two people that go outside talk about the third person and either kind of lift them up or even talk about, like, God, this, you know, they have this annoying quality. Jupiter and Neptune talk about how, you know, if Venus would just sort of lean into it, and be a little bit more mean, they'd be a really, you know, cool person. And then the sirens come in, and so it has to happen. Somebody's got to do something. Or, if you split up the group evenly enough through your first three decisions, something new happens. And then, far in the distance, we hear the devil singing. The devil knows our names, knows us by heart. The devil is behind us and in front of us and above us and below us. In every shadow cast by the flickering lights, in the gap between the path and the forest, right behind us. And then the devil is gone. We hold each other as tight as we dare. So when I first got to the true ending of the game, I still sort of hadn't grasped exactly what the message was. And for just a moment there, and really honestly I didn't even pick up on it then, but they start introducing this language for the devil that is very clearly godlike, where knows you, knows your name, knows you by heart, is, you know, everywhere around you in this kind of omnipotent, omniscient form. But they're talking about the devil, and so it's like, what does that mean? And then everything goes back to normal. So now they have to chill, and since they can't chill, Neptune brought alcohol. And Venus is worried about legality. Once again, Venus is me. I drank... I can count on one hand the number of times I drank before I turned 21. And I can count on, like, one finger the number of times that I really drank before I was 21. And since I turned 21, I think I've maybe gotten, like, truly hammered 5 times. You know, I just... for a long time, I was really worried about legality and sort of what's, you know, right and wrong. Because, you know, you come up in the church and that's kind of a thing you're concerned with, is being a quote-unquote capital G good, capital P person, rather than just being a good person. And somehow I turned out okay. Some people, that really fucks them up. But I managed to actually be a pretty good person at the same time. I don't know. It's weird. I think I lucked out more than anything. So we're going to once again do the scene with reflecting what we did before. Neptune and Venus getting drunk together. Super cute. Also super weird. It's very bad. That's one thing I can thankfully say I've never done is had like really bad alcohol. I at least tend to try and drink classy, and if I drink bad, it's because I'm just trying something out. I still remember my freshman year in college. A bunch of people in my hall were doing an Edwards 40 Hands party, and I was like, oh no, I've got something else going on that night. And then I just hid in my dorm all night because I was like, I don't want to like get caught, and I don't want to have like weird beer bottles taped to my hands. And I was in a boys' dorm, and it was weird, and I was awkward, and it's college. What can I say? And there was like 3 people on my hall who were not frat bro types. Somehow I missed out being in the dorky hall my freshman year, which was sad. I could have been fucking playing D&D and shit, but I was surrounded by bros. Although ironically, most of the bros were pretty cool. So I don't know. Life works out. So Neptune's starting to cough more, and they're going to talk about what their problems are. And I think in just a moment, Neptune is about to try and tell Venus what their problem is, and then the bile gets to be too much, and so now she's having a coughing fit. And so they've got to, rush to the bathroom so she can vomit. Doesn't want Jupiter to know, which, again, is, just a key. But yeah, it's the bile is something that is really key to Neptune's personality, where, someone like me, I tend to not have that venom in me, but for her, it's so key. It's how she operates. And even if I don't understand it, I at least find it fascinating. I kind of get it. And when all is said and done, and Venus starts to freak out, she does settle herself down, and she kind of finds that peace for just a second to be like, it's gonna be okay. Just, it got bad for a second. And then they get real. Venus's problem is that he's very nice, and he needs that niceness to get something from it. And she admits that that's kind of her problem too. And then I really like the fact that Venus kind of takes that moment to go, oh, okay, this is a thing we're actually doing. Not just being mean, but, being honest, which, ironically, you think being mean is more honest. And they, were the bad kids. And it's that horrible, horrible distinction between, sort of the what would be considered a Christian, morally good kid, and being an actually decent human being. And when you grow up in that atmosphere, it can be really, really hard to tell the difference between them. They go on a discussion about Harry Potter. I didn't get very far in Harry Potter. I only read up through book 4. I've seen, I think, the first 5 movies. So I finally kind of get some of these references. Nymphadora, I saw Tonks, and I was like, oh, I get it. She is kind of gay. I love it. I know that a lot of people are really fond of Ginny and Luna Lovegood being a couple. I pick up these things mostly from Tumblr. And that's my life now. We did miss an awesome conversation because of the way that I'm going through this. You can only see so many. But just that scene of Jupiter and Neptune drinking together. And she's like, is your dad Vin Diesel? Is your dad Ernest Hemingway? Are you the love child of Vin Diesel and Ernest Hemingway? And then, of course, if you're going to play Truth or Dare, gotta play 7 Minutes in Heaven. And when you're playing 7 Minutes in Heaven, there's only one option. don't get me wrong, Venus' scene with Jupiter is adorable in its own way, and it does have some really interesting bits and pieces to it. But you've got to put these two in a closet together just for 7 minutes and just let them figure something out. And in a way, it is sort of, it's perfect for, it's perfect for Jupiter because she has this obsession that she can't admit to with touch. And when you're doing 7 minutes in heaven, the entire point is all you have is touch. Which I think might be why she was so like, I'm going to win this game. I'm going to touch somebody. And maybe that's the other reason that it's, you know, it's a choice for her between Neptune, who I think, you know, she really is interested in, and then Venus, who is the boy that is closest to her, which is a choice that I get the feeling some girls have had to go through. I obviously have a very different life experience in that sort of situation, but that seems to be sort of one of those things, not realizing, of course, that the boy she is closest to may not even be a boy. So, you know. And then this is a lot of like 1 or 2 words, like, oh, by the way, things are happening that we can't see because we just have these images. There are some things worse than saying it directly. Like, this feels right, and I'm just so happy. They're things anyone could have said about anybody. They're just in the air. You mean so much to me. Ugh, and then anyone could have said that about anybody, and she's like tearing up. The Midwest is great. All you have to do is not say it out loud. That line murdered me the first time I played this game. Both my parents are from the Midwest, so I sort of, even living on the East Coast, I know that air of experience, that attitude, and hot damn, there's an entire sort of world where you can exist in a place, and as long as you don't ever say something out loud, as long as you don't talk about it, it's okay, so to speak. And you can wait it out forever, but maybe not. You know, technically speaking, you can wait it out forever, unless it breaks you. Also, just this backing track is gorgeous. Your hands, either way, are nice. Just a good line. Just, This is the scene that makes most Let's Players cry, and you can totally see why. It's nothing. It's nothing. End. Like, what? So the sirens are getting bad. Static on the radio. And there's also a house radio, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, so here you kind of get an image of it. Venus wraps his radio around the house radio, so he's got something that's sort of malleable and has like that, the ability to wrap. Neptune plunges her into the wood. I believe she has a blade of some kind. Jupiter's has like a coil of incense that's nestled in the middle of her speaker, so it's something that's got that, like, it's long and it's got like a heavy weight on it. Always just little bits and pieces, never explicitly explaining what the radios are, what they look like, even what they do, really. They're, you know, Sailor Moon's tiara, they're, Hamura's, buckler thing. Like, it's an implement that does a thing. So they figure, we'll ask God for help. Venus has to do the thing. And really, I think these 3 scenes, these 3 choices are emblematic of each of the characters. So, Neptune has this bile that's sort of constantly rising up, and she tries to keep it down with alcohol, and that makes it worse. Jupiter has this thing about touch, and so she gets put in a situation where touch is inevitable, and now Venus is sort of caught between being quote-unquote good at fixing radios and something else. These very sort of heavy metaphors that sort of, it's just, finally pushing home what the deal is. So one last time with Jupiter and Venus, which means Neptune has to go out and be in danger. And just immediately, like, this is kind of stupid. Venus just going off, like, why is the world like this? Why does it have to be this way? Like, if things are screwed up, you have to say something. But if even one person who didn't try as hard as you got more than you, you have to say it isn't fair. That's another good one. Reality on purpose. Reality that's someone's fault. And I think that's a good... That's more of a life lesson thing, insofar as, like, whenever somebody says, like, welcome... whenever somebody is, like, threw it on the ground, welcome to the real world, jackass. Like, okay, but the real world is affected by the people in it. Why is that the real world? Like, why is that why do we assume that's the default? There's got to be some version of the world where things aren't shit. Can we have just, like, a little bit of that world? Maybe. And so, like, Venus, in keeping with some of the themes, Venus sees this world and wants to sort of breathe into reality that world. To the point that, like, you don't even want to... But it's so upsetting that you almost don't even want to bother. Which I totally get. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I can't. Not when it comes to this. What is this? Whatever they want out of me that's not, quote-unquote, fixing radios. To be tougher, to grow up, to... And then a light comes in. And again, it's this light that Jupiter can't see. Another water break. Because guess what, ladies and gentlemen? They start tuning in. They pray. That's another thing. I was just at a thing the other day, this, like, choir concert, and there was a part where they did the Lord's Prayer, and it's been years since I've said the Lord's Prayer, and just, like, instantly, as soon as we all bowed our heads and folded our hands, I was like, oh, our Father who art in heaven, and it just tumbles out. It's so easy, because it's just rote memorization. It's just there the whole time. 109.8 FM, I don't know if I ever addressed that, but I definitely will at the end of this. Find God. And then suddenly, oh, hi there. The devil sounds like smoke and honey. We cannot move. It's too beautiful. Oh, darling, I miss you. I have always missed you. I can still remember what your faces were like. I have missed them since before you were born. Please come back. I know I can't offer much. The bodies I can give you are weak. The stories I tell are impossible. My world is even more precarious than this one. But please come back. It hurts to see you like this so much. So unhappy in those bodies of yours. Stricken by those stories. Forced to live in so much pain. I can't even come save you. But I can promise one thing. There's room for 3 in my world. And only 2 in his. So, this is the moment that I got it. The devil contacts them and is not tempting. Not like, oh, if you do this thing, like, you're gonna inherit the world. Just like, things are kind of bad, and I miss you, is something that I think some people just need to hear. We know the devil. Oh, she was nice. And that's... Venus says she once, and then there's a couple times where the devil is referred to as they, and then mostly it's he. And I think one or two it's. But it's never clear. God is right. We're dead. Wow. We are truly, completely, objectively, theologically, absolutely the worst. It's my fault. I put the radios on the wrong frequency. How can I be so stupid? How could I fuck up so bad? They will never, ever forgive us. Oh, here they come. The sirens are calling. The scouts are coming. I don't want to go through that terrible moment. It'll be fine. One hit, 1 second, one beautiful, blessed scout attack. And we'll wake up and everything will be normal. And all will be forgiven. Mostly. Because another, sort of trope in Christian society is that God forgives, but not all Christians forget. As far as I know, that's a pretty consistent thing. Right? Neptune? Neptune! Neptune yanks the antenna off the house radio. If God hates the devil so much, he should kill it himself. But instead, a bunch of assholes and kids like us are gonna come. Neptune kicks the speakers. And they're all fucking jerks. What do they know? Jupiter grabs her. Let go of me! The devil rules! Neptune, stop! What else are we supposed to do? If the devil is like, you all are cool, what else are we supposed to do? Let's hang out with him. So let go of me. But I don't want to. I can't. I just can't let go. Neptune drops the antenna. Jupiter. Where is the devil? If he's supposed to be here, we know the devil. And it's us, right? It has to be. Why? Because, obviously. But where is it? Don't make me say all the reasons why it's so clear we deserve it. But, stop. Where? It's got to be... This is awful. I know. Let me wreck it. No. Oh, fuck you. Why are you so good? Let go of me. Hail Satan. It's not gonna work just like that, You don't know that. People are much stronger than the devil. If it weren't, would it be fine? You'd fight if we could win, right? Stop, that's awful. You're awful. You're being good for people that fucking hate you, and you're good even if you say you're not good, because what else kind of person would hate themselves but someone who is really good? I'm so mad. Why not martyr yourself for us this time? For you. You deserve. Found it. And there is Venus. Like a flower, Venus is in bloom. Like a heart, Venus is beating. Like a soul, she is shining like a soul. I'm the devil. Her arm lies on the floor. It's a pale, bloodless thing. Someone else's body now, not hers. Oh my god. The devil rules. I pulled and it just came off. I don't want it anymore. Let me leave it there. Did it hurt? No, not even a little. The edges look rough. Oh, God, water breaks. You shouldn't touch it. Here, is that okay? Yeah. Wow, it really does come right off. It feels like plastic. Where did the blood go? This is so cool. Your arm is so soft. What is it made of, you think? You should get away. What's Venus gonna do? He's the devil. So are you. We should stop. It's like, I didn't realize how much my body was bothering me all the time before, and when they're peeled off, it finally feels like I don't have to think about them so much. Like normal. We're stronger than this. It's not normal, it's not good, it's not okay. But we don't have to be. I don't want to be. Why should we? Because. Just because you want to do something doesn't mean you should do it. Okay, sure. Which one of us should it be then? Who's going to get in trouble for being the devil and who's going to get away? All that matters, all we need, is one of us to be just a little worse than the others. And the rest will be fine. Stop, don't say this. It's so ugly. No, it's fine. It's normal. It happens every day. The captain said so. No, it's fucked up. It's evil. I don't want it. Of course I don't want that. I know. You're a really good person. Of course it's ugly. What's ugly isn't having to choose one to be the scapegoat. What's ugly is we have to choose it all. It's because you think it's ugly too that I like you so much, Jupiter. No, Stop. 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 This can't be happening. Venus needs her arm back, and you both need to stop saying those things because I know them, okay? Obviously I know them. I'm not stupid. I know Camp and the captain and everyone is messed up. But what else do you expect me to do? I want to leave this camp, this state, this planet, but I can't. I just can't. It's like a reflex. I can't stop it. I don't know what to do. I'm not making any sense. Help. Stop. Let's just go back before it's too late. Jupiter, come here. What? Feel. Neptune takes Jupiter's hand. Did you know I hate this? I hate it so much, and everyone who says I'm pretty just makes me hate it more. Jupiter, we could still go back. But if you try to make me, I'll kill you. Don't make us have to keep those bodies we hate. Don't make us go back to those people. Don't make us have to go home. And I won't let you do that to yourself, either. Of course I don't want to. I don't want to do that to you. I don't want to do that to me. I don't want to do that to Venus. Couldn't you just make me? Do you want it to not be your fault? Do you want me to make you so you don't have to take responsibility? That's sweet. No, I'm not. I won't do that for her. She has to say yes. That's also kind of sweet. I'm scared. It's okay. We promise. We really promise. But you need to promise too. Promise me hell is right there, right behind that door. All of it. Promise, really promise there's no going back. If that's really true, if you can really promise me, then I'll go. And I won't feel bad about it at all. Promise me there's no chance, okay? If I taste what it's like, I know there's no way I'll be happy being human ever again. If I have to be in my old body again, I'll die. So if you also promise that I won't ever have it again, what I will promise you is I won't drag you down. I'll stop thinking you're so cool. I won't ever envy again. I promise when you say you are fine, I will never stop yelling at you until you stop lying. Don't laugh. There's a song on the dead radio that's been playing for a while, but now it's so loud it erases every feeling, drowns out every sound. And oh, how beautiful it is. Oh, this fucking artwork gets me every time. This is the new touch. The feeling of fingers pushing painlessly through our skin. The feeling of the muscle and fat. The weight of it. The intention. It's best friends forever. It's a first kiss. It's a love story. It's imaginable, but it doesn't exist anywhere. Not any planet. We're a dream. We're becoming people no other people have been. A human that humans are not. We reach out to each other. Unlike Venus, whose body peels off like the shell of an egg, Jupiter is messier, or she would be, if blood wasn't now lighter than air. It curls like a mist around her. A storm is sure to come. Neptune is starting to run clear. All the ink and sick is boiled away. Venus is really good at helping, and so patient, too. She's a fountain seeping through the floorboards, bringing the flood. Jupiter finds the spot where Venus's shoulder blade is weeping and pulls with as many hands as she can. When it comes out, it stares at them, surprised, as if she can hardly believe she can see. She has a hand for every kind of touch. That hand is for hitting, that hand is for petting, that hand is for grabbing, that hand is for holding. The devil isn't lonely. The crackling, broken radio's song is louder and more lovely every minute. We are our own company now. We ask to be let out, and we let ourselves out. The rest of the kids are coming for us, with God and the radio, ready to undo our wish. But they will not. They won't touch us. One moment is all we need. To share, to yearn, to carve us into the world. There's nothing to fear when there is two against the devil. But we can't wait to see what they'll do against the three worst girls since Eve. That line. Camp is much nicer now that we have made some changes. The right angles were boring and distracting, and it was much too small. The captain has no stories left for us. Neptune would not be satisfied until every lie was gone. There's a crack as Jupiter tears down a siren, so Venus can set up a new kind, tuned to a different station. Group South helps. They don't have to feel like they're supposed to hate her anymore, so they don't. Love shines through in the end. Neptune lets herself flow into the lake. It's going to take a lot of time before anyone notices if anything is wrong with the water, longer still to figure out where it's coming from. We're hoping we can have a quiet time until then. With all of us, it went very badly with all of them against us three. We can only hope it'll get even worse. As it turns out, they were pretty unhappy in those bodies too. We're not too worried about if more come after us. Actually, we hope they send us lots and lots of kids much better behaved than we were. Adults also hate perfect kids who love the world so much they can't stop themselves from saving it. And oh, do the kids know it. Otherwise, they'd never try so hard, would they? So we think they'll like it here too. A new world with new bodies. How lovely will that be? We have a new apple for everyone in the world. Whoops. Cool, I hit the enter button too many times. Oh well, tone slightly ruined. One last water break. So, yeah, that's We Know the Devil. And, God, there's so freaking much to talk about, and I don't know where to begin. The good news is, and I'll include a link in the description, I actually did write kind of a, I don't know, like a thesis on some parts of this game, just because I had so many thoughts floating around in my head, and I need to get at least some of them out. I talked about, influences from pop culture, sort of how the Christianity is woven into this, where there are Bible verses, and then a little bit about how the game sort of inverts the God-devil binary. Some other really cool stuff. I think that one thing I really want to tackle in just talking here for a second, so I mentioned that there was something important about the 109.8 FM. 109.8 FM is not an FM station that exists commercially in anywhere in the United States, especially not in the Midwest. It is actually a reference to Psalms 109 verse 8, and I don't have it in front of me like a dingus, but it essentially says something to the effect of it's about a man giving up his position to somebody else. And what I've essentially sort of seen happening in this game is that Venus, Neptune, and Jupiter become a new trinity. Jupiter is sort of a godlike figure, but she's a leader only by force. She takes leadership positions because nobody else wants them. She does really well, but she always screws up like that one thing. And, sort of, if you want somebody in a leadership position, you want somebody like that who's not completely sure of themselves. You want a god who essentially says, like, oh, I screwed this thing up, like, maybe I can get somebody else to help me with it. Neptune becomes sort of a new Christ figure, anointing with, there's a baptism, there's Christ bleeding water on the cross, There's the inversion from the humor of blood to the humor of bile. So, Christ's blood is sort of important, but it's Neptune's bile that saves everything. It is through her that everybody else is saved, because she's the one who takes them by the shoulders, shakes the shit out of them, and says, like, this is who you are, and that is okay. So instead of sort of performing this one sacrificial act, she is consistently saving people by being a shield, like I mentioned earlier, but also just by, letting them be themselves. Venus represents something of a spirit figure who wants to inspire people, who can make them feel better about themselves, who can kind of breathe life into things, who sees things that no other people do. And they become this new trinity for a new world with a new apple. They're sort of they're also the new Eves, kind of. My idea is that perhaps in this world, God God understands how bad things have gotten and has allowed Satan to sort of take up the reins and figure out how to make the world better. And so these three are called in to sort of begin that fixing process. I don't know exactly. I'm sure there's like a million other reads that you could pull from this game. It's just amazing. And, in like 4 days, Heaven Will Be Mine is going to come out, and there's going to be a whole new sort of aesthetic about intergalactic mech fighting and chewing bubblegum and sending texts so you can flirt with your enemies. And I don't know. I'm looking forward to a lot. As far as everything after this, I talked up a big game about Kindred Spirits on the Roof. First of all, I didn't realize that game is like 20 million hours long. Second of all, I didn't realize that game has a million sex scenes, and I'm not prepared to either put those on my channel or to narrate them, as each character goes through a lot of, gasping and grunting and shit. It is a beautiful game. I love it. I'm probably going to have to play through it again at some point. I was thinking what I might do is just show a few key scenes and be like, hey, this game is beautiful. Everyone should get it. I know it's kind of expensive, but you should do it. So for future stuff on the channel, I really want to do a video about the beginner's guide. I don't think I'm going to do a let's play, because it's like an hour and a half, and I would feel like sitting and recording the whole thing in one go. And I only have so much to say about it that people haven't already said more and better. There will be more about it kind of in the lead up to making that video. I'd kind of like to do Highway Blossoms, because that game has fully voiced narration. It's got gorgeous music. It has like actual sort of kinetic movements and some really cool things going on. The music is fantastic. But that would be an easier one to do on my voice. I've got a game called, I can never get the name right, Velda's Story Abyssal City. It's a side-scroller, Metroidvania type game, but it's got a lot of like cool kung fu sword action stuff going on. The story is really interesting. Hey, guess what? It's about angels and demons having a fight. Go figure. I might pull up like an old farm of mine on Stardew Valley or something along those lines. Just kind of dick around in that for an episode or two and just see how people like it. I sort of want to do a focus on games with more queer themes. If I can make it happen, I'd love to do Gone Home, because that's another game that has a lot of really cool hidden things in it that can sort of bear examination. I probably won't do a lot of playing games, just because most of the games that I do on this channel, I would want to at least make a run through and make sure I understand it. Like if I ever do Heaven Will Be Mine, I'm going to play the shit out of that game so that I understand it first. I'm not like a reaction channel or whatever. But I want to keep a focus on like queer games and stuff like that. I'm definitely open to suggestions, provided the games are A, relatively inexpensive, because I have no money, and B, can run on a 4-year-old laptop, because that's the reason that like visual novels were kind of the first thing my mind went to, and why I probably wouldn't do a full let's play of Beginner's Guide, because I don't know if I could play it and my laptop can handle that. I don't know if I could record it and get a good recording. So that's kind of where I'm at. You guys know the drill by now. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Please leave a comment. I love getting comments. I will probably respond to it. I'm really easy to approach. I'm just a huge dork, so don't feel like if you have some different interpretation, like please let me know because I find that stuff infinitely fascinating. Requests for other games, hype about sort of Heaven Will Be Mine or anything else that's coming up. And I think other than that, I'm good. This has been awesome. I really hope to do more stuff like this. I love you guys. You're beautiful. Stay awesome. And I will see you next time.